6-speed Dakota here. I apologize if I sound a little bit hoarse. Just my voice is kind of going today. Anyway, I've got a couple of days left at work, and I'm going on vacation for about 10 days. So that doesn't mean that you guys are going to lose any videos. In fact, that'll probably mean you get more, because now I have more time for editing. Anyway, before I go on this trip, I want to do a pre-trip inspection on my truck. So I thought that we'd do that today. So of course, everybody knows that we're going to be working on my 2006 Dodge Dakota 6-speed. And this is a fairly, fairly straightforward, simple process. You know, all you're doing is just checking over everything and making sure everything works before you go out on that long trip, just so that you're not in an unsafe situation and you're not left stranded for some odd reason. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come in here. We turn on the lights. We're going to come over here. We're going to examine all the lights. So as you can see, marker lights, headlights, in this case my fog lights, all work on both sides. And then as we come to the back, okay, so we do notice that the tail lights are on. And of course, we notice that both my license plate lights are on. Now that cover's been missing ever since I bought the truck, so anyhow, we'll come around, turn on the hazard lights. And again, we're going to make sure that all the hazard lights work. Don't forget about the cargo lamp. Make sure that both of those work. And of course, that both signal lights work. Have somebody hit the brake pedal or jam it down somehow. Center mount brake light is on. And both brake lights are on. I've turned the lights off so that I know that that light is the bright one. And now one final step. Turn the key on wherever the damn thing is. Oh, I still have my lights on actually. Oops. We'll put the truck in reverse. We're going to make sure that both my reverse lights are both on. So now that we've checked the lights, we can move on to the next. So the next thing we want to look at is all the conditions of all of our fluids. Now, number one, look at the battery, make sure it's okay. Some of this fuzzy stuff is just left over, built up crud from the battery. You know, actually it's baking soda when I cleaned it off last. Cooling system. Now, my truck's still kind of warm, so I kind of don't want to pop this cap. Okay, maybe it's not long enough to cool off. I guess we'll find out. We notice that the radiator is full of fresh coolant. It's not rusty colored. It's not muddy colored or anything like that. And of course, my reservoir is full up to the mark. Obviously, we want to check the engine oil. Kind of hard to do this with one hand, but you know, typical. Wipe the dipstick, feed it, oh, it's caught, feed it back in, pull it out. And as you can see, my oil is nice and full, but it's a little dark, and I'll be changing the oil in a day or so before I leave for the lake. But if you haven't had your oil changed in a while, best to get your oil changed. Brake fluid, make sure you got an adequate amount in there. It's at about this seam line there. If it's too low, it could indicate that you have worn out brakes that you should have addressed, especially if you're going in a hilly area. Next thing we're going to do is check the power steering fluid. See, mine is a little bit low. I should top it up with some ATF plus 4. Going to do that before I leave. As you can tell on the cloth here that it's nice and pink colored, so we're good in that sense. Now if you have an automatic transmission, there's going to be a dipstick right about here. You're going to want the engine running. Pull that dipstick out. I should actually go demonstrate anyway. Automatic transmission fluid in a vehicle that has an automatic transmission. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to start. Make sure nobody's coming while I have the door open. Start the engine.
Boy, oh boy,
Then what we're going to do is we're going to pop the hood. Now, because this is a hybrid, the engine will actually stay running when the hood is open. And back here's our transmission fluid dipstick. You can see it's got a little gear symbol on it. Pull it out, wipe it off, and look at it and make sure it's at the correct level, make sure that the fluid looks good. If it's not, you might want to get that changed or flushed. Also make sure, again, that any of your fluids or everything else is topped up. In this case, make sure that, in this case, because it's a hybrid, we make sure that we got adequate coolant in the hybrid cooling system, as well as the engine's cooling system. So this thing's shuddering a little bit. Might be time for some new plugs. So next thing you want to do is check your washer fluid, because washer fluid is very, very important. Now, definitely get yourself a bottle of bug wash. It helps clean the summer washer fluid because it helps clean the bugs off better. It doesn't have anything that prevents freezing, so it washes better. Make sure this guy's topped up. This is kind of important, especially if you're going on a long trip. And it does not hurt to, it doesn't hurt to carry one of these with you, especially if you have a small reservoir. But as you can tell, this thing's already drank about a half a gallon. So this thing's got a pretty big reservoir in it, so we don't have to worry too much. But if you got a small car with a small reservoir, definitely carry one of these with you. Very, very important. What else do we have to check? Make sure that your serpentine belt is in good shape. So you can see if I twist this like this, you see that there's no breaks or any cracks in the ribs. Belt's got good tension. Everything looks okay. Also, make sure that your maintenance is up to date. If your spark plugs haven't been changed in a while, definitely good to change them. Air filter, make sure it's clean. This will all help you get better gas mileage when you're out on the road. So now the rubber meets the road, pun intended. So we're going to check our tires next. So one thing we want to look for is kind of run our hand across the edge like this and kind of over this way. And make sure it doesn't feel sawtooth or like it has any abnormal wear. So you can tell my tires are brand new. They maybe have, I've had them on for maybe a week and a half now, if that. So next thing you want to do is using a good quality tire pressure gauge. Check the pressure in each of them. They seem to be falling a little bit actually for some weird reason. So my tires are a little bit low. I'm going to have to go pump them up a little bit. But definitely pay attention to that, because an inflated tire will keep your fuel economy up. Also, an underinflated tire can cause handling issues and ultimately cause a blowout, which will definitely render your baby upside down on the side of the road somewhere. So definitely keep your tires properly inflated, especially if you're towing a trailer. It's very, very important, or you're hauling a heavy load or something like that. Check all 4 tires. Of course, don't just check the one. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is come underneath here. And right underneath the front axle here, as you can see, there's a little bit of oil and whatnot, but that's just because I just changed the diff fluid. Right here's the plug. Pop that plug out. As you can see, there's fluid running out, so we know that it's full. Also, smell it, make sure it's in good shape. Okay, and then we'll keep moving. Your check is the transmission and transfer case. So if you have an automatic, all you have to do is just check the transfer case. You don't have to check the transmission because obviously you did it up there, but because I have a manual, of course I have to check it. So just stick the finger in there, and as you can see, it's full. And the fluid doesn't look too bad. Fluid's only got about 15,000 on them. But Dodge does recommend changing the diffs every 15,000 miles and the tranny and transfer case every 30. So that's what I do. And it should have a nice kind of sweet smell to it. It shouldn't smell too burnt. Now, again, make sure you don't have any leaks or anything like that. You don't have to kill this thing. It's an aluminum housing. So now if we move back here to the passenger side, you can see I already got the hex bit in place. If I can reach my arm around and plug this guy in. Now, unlike that one, I actually haven't broken this one loose. we go. Hopefully it won't drip all over my GoPro. Oh, I can actually already see it dripping. We notice that the fluid's a nice pink color. It's got that nice sweet transmission fluid smell to it. Yeah, I don't want to take this thing out all the way, because it's going to drool ATF all over my GoPro, which is definitely not what I want. Alright, now we're going to move on back to the rear diff. Now the pipe is a little closer to the diff than it was before because I got rear-ended. Body's all fixed, as you can see, but of course the pipe is still bent here. And it's been pushed back. So we put our finger in there. Notice that the diff is nice and full. That's good. It's just what we want. This is 75 140 oil, so this stuff's pretty expensive too. Cost me like 88 bucks just for fluids for this thing. Anyway, one other tire you want to check is your spare. Just in case, hopefully you never end up having a flat tire while you're out on vacation, but definitely check the air in the spare. First thing we do before we take it for a test drive at all is spray the washer fluid nozzles, make sure they spray, make sure the wipers don't streak. I think it looks good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to fire it up. Gonna back it out of the garage just a hair, just so that we don't gas ourselves. So if you have AC, obviously this applies. Turn your AC up. Make sure if you have a snowflake button that it's on recirc, and just feel it. Is it nice and cold? It should cool down pretty quickly. Next thing we're gonna do, pop the hood. Come back around front. And look and make sure that our compressor is spinning, which it is. If it's not spinning, then you know that you might have low refrigerant charge or something like that. This pipe feels awfully cold, so this one's nice and warm, this one's nice and cold. So we know that the AC system is working. Now let's take the vehicle for a test drive. Let's go take the vehicle for a quick test drive here. There we go. So we know that our AC works, it's nice and cold. Sure that our brakes feel good. They don't feel too touchy, they don't feel soft. This may seem obvious, but you'd be surprised how some people miss the obvious. Also, get yourself a nice pair of sunglasses if you're driving, especially, because they'll make your eyes feel much more comfortable. I have these Dylan Optic ones, and they are absolutely amazing. I absolutely love them. Get the vehicle up to speed. You don't feel a shimmy or vibration in the wheel. The vehicle bounces around a little bit because I need new shocks, but unfortunately I'm not really able to do that right now. Give it a good pull. Accelerates nicely, it doesn't stumble, doesn't try to stall out. You got a stick shift, make sure it shifts nicely. You know, all the stuff that you'd want while you're on a long drive. Somebody texting while at a stoplight next to me. Still has no idea that the light is green. If you got an automatic, if it's shifting erratically, then you might want to figure out that problem. But overall, just kind of make sure that your vehicle just drives nicely. A lot of people don't realize, you know, feel for looseness in the steering. Make sure when you take your hands off the wheel that the vehicle drives nice and true and straight. I don't even have my driver's license on me right now. I totally forgot. We go right past the cop shop to make it better. Oh well. At least I have 8 sports car, but if it feels like it's kind of jerky or rolling a lot, or something's not quite right, or it seems to want to push all over the road one way or another, you're probably going to want to correct that, because that wouldn't be safe to drive for a long distance, especially the distance that I'm going. You know, it's not that long of a distance, but there's quite a few hills and twisties, and it's a lot of fun if your vehicle is capable of doing that drive. Oh, and that extra power from the tuner I got on it's really nice. There's a cop right there. He doesn't even have his radar on. Yeah, listen for any squeals in the brakes when you come to a stop. It may seem dumb, but do make sure that your emergency brake works. Because if for one reason or another you happen to lose brakes going down a huge hill, you're going to want to get emergency brake. You know, and it goes without saying that if you got a stick shift, you know, make sure your clutch is in good shape. It's not going to slip or anything like that. Because that kind of makes a bit of an unsafe journey. This guy is like right in front of me. Realize that she doesn't have a stop sign. Oh man, this thing pulls nice. Pull right into my driveway here. Here's the Hyundai from the oil change video, and also my Tahoe hybrid from its oil change video, if you've been fans of me for a while. Now, another thing is, just because your parking brake works doesn't mean that it works per se. Notice how it's holding me on the driveway when I put it on. Get away from the door a little bit. You want the parking brake to hold you if you try to move. As you can see, it ain't moving. Yeah, make sure that the parking brake doesn't sink right to the floor, because that's pretty useless if you get into trouble. What else am I missing here? Yes. So one last thing, and that is fuel. But also, make sure your engine doesn't overheat clearly before you start going. Make sure there's no coolant leaks, that kind of thing. That I thought was kind of obvious. Fuel. Now, my truck doesn't exactly have a huge fuel tank, and the range is kind of lousy, to be honest. It doesn't get great gas mileage. So one thing you may want to do is grab yourself a couple of jerry cans and fill them up with fuel if you're going for a long distance where you know there isn't going to be any fuel for long periods of time. Or in my case, if you don't want to fill up on Canadian gas because it's triple the price of what it should be, I always try to fill up with U.S. gas because, you know, it is a U.S. truck and it should run on U.S. gas anyway. I like to carry a couple of jerry cans with me if I'm on a long trip, because then I know that no matter what, if I do get into some kind of trouble and I'm running low on fuel, I'll always have reserve with me. So that's one other important thing. Now, you don't need it, of course, but a handy thing to have if you plan on going briskly wherever you're going is a good radar detector. Now, this one's kind of a cheap one. I just got it on eBay for like $50. It's regular about $300, so at a future shop or something like that. But definitely, if you're going to be driving spiritedly, a good radar detector is always a good thing to have. Don't break the laws, but it'll remind you in case you are going a little too fast to slow down and watch your speed. Of course, when you're on a trip and you got your loved ones with you, please drive safe. You know, they depend on you to get them to where they're going. So that's pretty much it. The main brunt of it is actually, believe it or not, the tires and the suspension components. If you feel like you got a lot of looseness in your steering wheel and your vehicle feels like it's wandering all over the road, you're going to want to get you probably have a worn suspension component. You want to get that replaced and a full alignment done, because you don't want to be driving down a bunch of hilly roads with a bunch of loose and sloppy suspension components. That's a death sentence. Also, if your tires are bald or worn abnormally, again, make sure you have that corrected before you go out. Again, you want to get your loved ones to where they want to go safely. So, I'm done babbling for a little bit. Just make sure when you take your vacation, you get there safely. Definitely have fun. If you're going on vacation, that's the whole point of it. But remember, the whole point of it is you want to get there safely. Can't stress that enough. And you want to get there without having to spend $1,000 tow bill and whatever it is for a vehicle repair because you broke down somewhere. So definitely make sure that your maintenance is up to date, tire pressures, just the basics. You know, you don't have to go as hardcore and check every single fluid like I did, but really you should. Another thing is, excuse me, make sure your window's nice and clean, because nothing's worse than looking out of a dirty window, especially when you got big bug splatters everywhere and you can't see where you're going. So yeah, that's about the end of my little chat on that. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope you guys found this informative. I'm 6Speed Dakota. I will be going to Christina Lake for 10 days, but don't you worry, because I have plenty of footage to edit and upload while I'm up there at my grandparents' place, and I will definitely make a little bit more footage while I'm up there, because everybody knows who watches my channel that I have that old Merc. That's definitely going to get fired up on Thursday when I get there. And, what else? Oh, definitely going to take a nice trip around the lake. I don't know if people will enjoy watching that, but it's a very beautiful lake, so I'll definitely film that with the GoPro on the Bayliner. We're going to pull the Bayliner up there. So, yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. I'm 6Speed Dakota, and be sure to follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/6speeddakota, Twitter at 6speeddakota, and, of course, Google Plus at 6speeddakota as well. One last thing, again, like I had said before, if you're driving a very long distance and it's hot and sunny out, or if you're watching this at the wintertime, God forbid, you're going up on a ski vacation or something like that, same kind of procedures apply for a winter trip. Obviously make sure your heat works and whatnot. Try maybe lower your tire pressures just by a couple of pounds would really help if you're going in some snow and whatnot. If you're in somewhere where you're going to get a lot of light reflection, say snow, or you got glare or something off the road, definitely get yourself a good pair of sunglasses like these. These are polarized. They're very expensive, yes, but you got one pair of eyes and you want to protect them. These do a very good job. They don't glare. So the cheap sunglasses, it'll just make your life miserable. So definitely keep yourself safe, keep your eyes nice and healthy, and get yourself a good pair of sunglasses is my last thing. So I've already mentioned Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus, and everything else. So I'm going to stop talking. Good night, everybody, or goodbye, everybody. Have a safe and fun holiday.